Every so often, someone comes along and does something so extraordinary that it makes you stop and go, wow, did that really just happen? That's exactly what Laura Muir did when she tore up the indoor track and smashed a mile record that had stood for years. This wasn't just a race, it was a full-blown spectacle. Laura didn't just win, she crushed it, leaving world-class runners behind and showing why she's a force to be reckoned with. Laura Muir's story begins in Scotland, where she grew up balancing her love of running with her studies in veterinary medicine. Yep, that's right. While most of us struggle to juggle one passion, Laura was excelling in two. She completed her degree while also building a career that would soon make her one of the most exciting athletes of her generation. Her early days were spent training in the rugged Scottish countryside, where unpredictable weather and tough terrain shaped her into the runner she is today. Those experiences made her physically strong and gave her a confidence that has carried her through the highs and lows of professional racing. Laura's rise to fame also had some challenges. She juggled her studies and her training, which led to sacrificing sleep and personal time to keep up with both. But those sacrifices paid off, as she now stands as an example of what's possible when hard work meets passion. Most big-time races happen on outdoor tracks where runners benefit from longer straightaways, better airflow, and fewer tight corners. Indoor tracks, on the other hand, are compact and challenging. Measuring just 200 meters per lap, they require runners to lean into the sharper turns that can throw off their rhythm and create costly adjustments. Running fast on such a track isn't just about raw speed, it's about precision and adaptability. Laura had both in her deck of cards. Indoor races also have a completely different vibe. The compact stadiums amplify every cheer, every gasp, and makes it feel like you're performing in front of 100,000 people. For athletes, this can either feel electrifying or terrifying. Laura turned the thrill of the indoor environment into advantages, leaning into those tight turns with a flow and grace that made her look untouchable. Adding to the challenge is the pacing on an indoor track. The shorter laps make it harder for runners to stay consistent, as they're constantly adjusting their stride to prepare for the next sharp bend. For most athletes, this results in a slower overall time. But not for Laura. She flipped the script entirely, showing the indoor mile could be just as fast as outdoor. If you've ever watched a high-stakes race, you've likely seen pacers leading the pack. They're not there to win. They're there to help the top runners maintain a consistent, lightning-fast pace. In Laura's race, the pacer clocked an aggressive tempo that seemed a little out of reach for most elite athletes. But Laura, being Laura, remained calm and stuck with the pacer. The other runners struggled to keep up. The pacer's exit marked a turning point. It's one thing to follow someone setting the pace, but it's another to take over and keep that tempo going solo. Without someone to chase or anyone pressing close behind, it's easy to lose focus or let fatigue creep in. But not Laura. She kept her composure and maintained a pace that left everyone speechless. This stretch of the race wasn't just plain impressive. Think about it. She had no competitors in sight, no one to gauge herself against, and yet she managed to hold a pace most of us can't even imagine. It showed her ability to push through discomfort and lock into a rhythm. This was Laura at her best. Calm, controlled, and completely in command. The psychological battle of running alone is often underestimated. Without external stimuli, distance athletes are left with only their thoughts, and those thoughts can become their worst enemy. For Laura, however, this solitude seemed to bring out her best. It was as if she likes the challenge, using it as an opportunity to prove that she is physically and mentally tough. From the very beginning, Laura positioned herself as the one to beat. While others hesitated or hung back, she flew forward with purpose, making it clear she was there to lead. Not gonna lie, her strategy was bold, but effective. By pushing the pace early, she forced the other runners to play catch-up. Most couldn't keep up, and by the halfway point, she had already opened a significant gap. Laura's early dominance sent a message to her competitors. If you want this race, you'll have to fight me for it. As the laps ticked by, that fight became increasingly one-sided. Laura's lead grew with every stride, and the question shifted from who will win to how fast can she go. Her ability to dictate the race from the front was about sheer willpower. She knew the risks of leading early, burnout, fatigue, but she also knew her training had prepared her for this moment. Among the field were two highly regarded African long-distance runners. These athletes didn't just show up to compete. They came expecting to win. But Laura left them trailing in her dust as if they were running an entirely different race. Watching her pull away was nothing short of impressive. While Laura ran solo on the track, she wasn't truly alone. The crowd, packed into the indoor arena, was electric. Every cheer seemed to vibrate through the building, creating an atmosphere that pushed her to be great. It's one thing to have the fitness to break a record. It's another to hear the energy of thousands of fans and use it as fuel. Their energy carried Laura through the toughest moments, motivating her forward when every muscle in her body screamed to stop. By the time she crossed the finish line, the crowd's roar wasn't just celebration. It was pure admiration for the performance they had just witnessed.
I make that the fourth fastest indoor mile of all time, behind Genzebe Dibaba.
Laura's speed didn't come out of nowhere. It was the result of a methodology-planned training routine designed to push her body to its absolute limits. Sprint intervals, endurance runs, strength training, you name it, Laura did it. Her workouts weren't just about getting faster. They were about fine-tuning every element of her performance. What's more, her training wasn't just hard, it was smart. Laura's team focused on building her stamina while also improving her ability to recover quickly between bursts of intense effort. This combination of speed and endurance was what allowed her to maintain such a fast pace for the entire race. Every workout was a building block, each one designed with the specific goal of running a record-breaking mile. It was about making her run better. Laura and her team left nothing to chance, analyzing every detail to ensure she'd be ready when the big day came. Physical training is only half the battle. For Laura, the mental aspect of running was just as critical. Staying focused, blocking out distractions, and pushing through pain are skills she mastered long before stepping onto the track. In a race as high pressure as this one, those mental tools made all the difference. Her mindset wasn't just about staying calm, it was about staying hungry. Every step she took seemed to say, "I've got more in me." That level of self-belief is rare, and it's what allowed her to keep pushing, even when the odds seemed impossible. As the race entered its final moments, the energy in the arena was sky high. Laura had one lap to go and the clock was ticking. Somehow, despite the crazy pace she'd maintained, she found another gear. Her last lap was absolutely insane. When she crossed the line at 4 minutes and 18 seconds, the place went crazy. Laura's achievement is more than just a new time on the leaderboard, it's a challenge to the next generation of runners. She's shown that what once seemed impossible is now within reach. For aspiring athletes, her performance is a reminder to dream big and chase those dreams fearlessly. Laura Muir's record-breaking run was more than just a race. It was the kind of performance that makes you stop and cheer, even if you're not a fan of running. From the very start, she was on a mission. And by the time she crossed the finish line, she had done something truly unforgettable. Running without anyone to push her, keeping that insane pace, and finishing strong was nothing short of incredible. But what makes Laura's story so powerful isn't just the record she broke. It's the reminder that big achievements start with effort, practice, and the courage to take on tough challenges. She wasn't born a champion. She became one by showing up, working hard, and staying focused on her goals. As the crowd roared and the clock stopped, Laura didn't just set a new record. She proved what's possible when you're all in. Her run was inspiring, reminding everyone watching that with enough effort and heart, you can do things you never thought possible.